like, after a couple youth nights and a few youth nights and stuff like that, I feel like I know you guys, and you guys know me pretty well enough for me to tonight talk about your relationships and be all up in your business. I want to talk about your situationships, your breakups. Yeah, I see you. Some of you guys be like, your Snapchat streaks, your DMs, heartbreaks, all of that. I want to talk about that today. Okay, so first off, because I was like, okay, I want to talk to you guys about relationships. I was like, okay, let me first figure out the statistics about high school and middle school relationships, right? So I looked it up. I asked Chat, because it's just easier, right? And she told me, because Chat is a girl, she's like my girl, my homegirl. She told me that 98% of middle school and high school relationships do not end in marriage. That means only 2% make it. That's very low chances. So if your girlfriend or boyfriend is right here with you, just look over at them. Just look at them. And then just look away. Now look back over here. All right? So 98% of high school and middle school relationships do not end in marriage. So listen, all of the late night text messages, all of the hand holding, the Snapchat streaks, all of that do not make it to the altar. Dude, that's what I'm saying. I'm just gonna talk to you guys and just be real. Just do you a solid real quick, right? So this is your excuse that if you're trying to break up with that boyfriend and girlfriend that you just looked at, then just do it after this. Don't do it right now. So all that to say, I'm not saying don't date, right? I'm not saying don't date because I know that you guys are just gonna go and do it anyways. That's what I did. My parents told me don't date, and I just went and dated anyway, right? So I know you guys are gonna go do it anyways. So what I want to talk to you tonight is more so if your relationship that you're in or you're thinking about being in is actually worth your time. So I want to start by telling you guys a story from the Bible about this couple, Samson and Delilah. Has anybody ever heard that story before? It's okay if you haven't. This is kind of the first time that I've really studied the story. So Samson, he completely ignored every and all red flags. So to give some backstory, Samson was chosen by God. He was gifted with such incredible strength, like Hulk strength. But that strength came with a commitment. Samson wasn't supposed to cut his hair because that was his sign as a dedication to God that he was going to stay faithful, he was going to stay obedient, and everything like that. It was that symbol. But he threw it all away because he literally ignored all red flags, and he gave his heart to the wrong person. In this case, is Delilah. So I want to read through this story with you guys, and I want you guys to follow along with me. It starts in Judges 16, verse 4. Sometime later, Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah, who lived in the valley of Sorek. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, "Entice Samson to tell you what makes him so strong and how he can be overpowered and tied up securely. Then each of us will give you 1,100 pieces of silver." So the rulers of the Philistines, they basically came up to Delilah and they're like, listen, we need to know how is he so strong? We need to know, and we'll pay you money, bank for it. So to put it into perspective, 1,100 pieces of silver in this day is $13,000. That's you going to Best Buy and dropping bank and buying 26 brand new PS5s. $13,000 just to tell a secret, just to find out what makes somebody so strong, and then just spilling the tea, right? That's $13,000. So Delilah said to Samson, "Please tell me what makes you so strong and what it would take to tie you up securely." Samson replied, and he said, "If I were tied up with 7 new bowstrings that have not yet been dried, I would become as weak as anyone else." So is that true? No. It's not. Sorry, somebody say yes, but that's okay. No, that is not true because remember, his strength comes from his hair, right? So he's basically just telling Delilah like a made up thing, like, So the Philistine rulers brought Delilah 7 new bowstrings, and she tied Samson up with them. She had hidden some of the men in one of the inner rooms of her house, and she cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you." But Samson snapped the bowstrings as a piece of string snaps when it's burned by a fire, because again, it wasn't true. So the secret of his strength was not discovered. Afterward, Delilah said to him, "You've been making fun of me and telling me lies. Now please tell me how you can be tied up securely." First off, that's weird, right? Like, why is she asking that a second time at this point? You would think at this point Samson would be like, "Why are you asking me that?" And kind of freaked out. No. Samson replied, "If I were tied up with brand new ropes that have never been used before, I would become as weak as anyone else." So Delilah, what do you think Delilah did? She took new ropes and tied him up with them. Yes. The men were hiding in the inner room as before, and again Delilah cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you." But again, Samson snapped the ropes from his arms as if they were just thread. Then Delilah said, "You've been making fun of me and telling me lies. Now tell me how you can be tied up securely." And then Samson replied and said, "If you were to weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric of your loom and tighten with the loom shuttle, I would become as weak as anyone else." So while he slept, Delilah wove the 7 braids of his hair into the fabric, and she tightened it with the loom shuttle. So when I was reading this part, I was like, hold up. What even is a loom, right? So I want to show you guys what a loom looks like. So this is what a loom looks like. It's supposed to come, oh, there it is. That's a loom. So she was supposed to basically tie his 7 braids in there and snap it shut into that. So if you were Samson and this chick is literally asking you a third time why you're so strong and how to tie you up securely, what are you thinking? He's dumb. And especially this, how is she hiding that in the closet? She's not. It's out. He just told you that, just put my hair in a loom and all of a sudden there's a loom there. That's really suspicious. I was reading the story and I was like, bro, bro is dumb. Or as what you guys would say, bro is cooked. So again, she cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you." But Samson woke up, pulled back the loom shuttle, yanked his hair from the loom and the fabric. And then Delilah pouted, "How can you tell me I love you when you don't share your secrets with me? You've made fun of me 3 times now, and you still haven't told me what makes you so strong." She tormented him with her nagging day after day until he was sick to death of it. So basically, then she was like, "Okay, you're not telling me your secret, so now I'm just going to gaslight you. Now I'm just going to be like, well, you don't love me if you're not going to tell me all this stuff and whatever." Finally, Samson shared his secret with her. He's dumb, right? Does anybody agree? I read this story and I'm like, bro, are you serious? He says, "My hair has never been cut," he confessed, "for I was dedicated to God as a Nazirite from birth. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as anyone else." So you would think, being Delilah, you'd be like, "Oh, thank you so much for sharing your secret with me. I feel so much closer to you. You can trust me." No. Do you think Delilah did that? No. Delilah realized that he had finally told her the truth. So she sent for the Philistine rulers. "Come back one more time," she said, "for he has finally told me his secret." So the Philistine rulers returned with the money in their hands. Delilah lulled Samson to sleep with his head in her lap, and then she called in a man to shave off the 7 locks of his hair. In this way, she began to bring him down, and his strength left him. Then she cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you." When he woke up, he thought, "I'll just do as before and shake myself free." But he didn't realize the Lord had left him because his hair was shaved. So the Philistines captured him and gouged out his eyes. They took him to Gaza, where he was bound with bronze chains and forced to grind grain in the prison. So all of this to say, his story shows us what happens when you chase the wrong things and ignore all of the red flags. While we were reading this story, you, the person next to you, me, like we clearly saw all of the red flags, right? But what about green flags? Green flags are signs of a healthy relationship that is safe and is headed in the right direction. So let's address the red flags within the story, and let's talk about the green flags that I want you guys to look for as you're thinking about, being in relationships, dating that person, or as you're dating this person. So red flag number 1, Delilah didn't care about Samson's faith, at all. Because she only cared about herself, right? She was literally paid to portray Samson because he was probably blinded by attraction, right? I'm assuming that Delilah was pretty, and that's probably why he was literally so blinded by the fact that she was setting him up and just trying to, basically capture him. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the person that you're dating or you're going to date shouldn't be attractive, because that would be a red flag if you're with somebody who you're not even attracted to. You should be attracted to them. But what about their character? Do they have integrity? Are they smart? Are they kind? Do they embody all of the fruits of the Spirit, which are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control? All of that stuff. Do they have all of that? Some of you have been in relationships where the attraction was so strong, right? That's the only thing that kept you guys going. But the character was so weak. At first it feels exciting, but then you start getting tired of each other. There's lies, there's disrespect, there's hurtful words, there's pressure, there's drama, and it just leaves you feeling drained. That's because you were building a future on sparks instead of substance. So the first green flag we want to look for in a person is that they love God, so they influence you right. And I want you to hear this. If someone doesn't love God deeply, they are going to end up loving you poorly. Not because they're evil, but because they're trying to give you something that they don't have. And the thing that they need is love from the Lord, because God is love, right? So how are they going to be able to show you that if they don't love God deeply? Does that make sense? Are you guys tracking? Yeah. So the right person doesn't just make you feel good. They want you to know God more. They should make you feel like you want to know God more. So to give you a little story, a little personal story, a lot of you guys know who Luke is. Luke is my husband, but he wasn't always my husband, obviously. Thanks for the whistle, guys. He obviously wasn't always my husband. So we were dating in college and everything like that. We both came to JRNY together. We got saved. We got baptized. We started serving on the kids team together and stuff. And Luke's life, he was really following the Lord. Was very obedient to what God was calling him to do, was serving, coming to church every single Sunday, just being used by God and just following God's will for his life. I've shared with you guys that I went to college and basically acted like I didn't even know who God was. So with that, when Luke and I were dating in college, because he was going in this direction with God and I was going in the opposite direction, we started fighting a lot. We were fighting a lot, and, he was like, Lynn, you should just come home, come back to church, you should come to serve, all this stuff like that, where he was encouraging me, get involved at a church, by the campus, all of this. He was praying over me. He was sending me Bible verses, and, it was just all giving me the ick. I was like, well. But if I loved God, that wouldn't have given me the ick. That shouldn't have given me the ick. I should have wanted a guy like that in my life, right? So because of all of that, naturally, because we weren't equally yoked, and again, he was going in the direction of God, and I was going away, we broke up. And it was because I didn't love God wholeheartedly. Matthew 22:37-38 says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment." So why is that the first commandment? Because the way that someone loves God will always determine the way that they love you. If they're not connected to the source of love, like I said before, which is God, what are they actually giving you? It's like trying to charge your dead phone by plugging it into another dead phone. They might be able to give you attention, affection, all that stuff like that, but at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to give you true, selfless, patient love because they don't have it themselves from the Lord. So has anybody ever flown on a plane before? Anybody? Okay. So you know how they go through the instructions of if we crash and possibly die, these masks are going to come down, and they always tell you to do what first? Yes, put your mask on first. And why is that? Because you need to be able to breathe before you can help someone else breathe. It's the same way in relationships. If they don't first love God with everything that they've got, they don't have what it takes to love you in a healthy way. Their love will run out. And it's the relationship shouldn't be based on what you can do for them because they already have everything that they need from God. So red flag number 2. Remember in the story when it talks about how Delilah nagged him and basically was just gaslighting him and everything like that until he was literally sick to death of it? That's peer pressure in a relationship. Samson said no at first and didn't want to tell her how he was so strong, but Delilah wore him down. She twisted his emotions until he finally gave in. And we usually think of peer pressure with your friends, right? When they say come on, just try it this one time, or come on, YOLO, you just need to just experience life. But in dating, peer pressure often shows up as emotional manipulation. So phrases like, if you loved me, then you would ... Every other couple is doing it, or it's really not that big of a deal, or you don't want to lose me, do you? So then you'll just do this. That's exactly what Delilah did, and it destroyed Samson. It costed him his purpose, his freedom, even his eyesight. So the next green flag that I want to talk to you guys about is that they respect boundaries, so they treat you right. And I want you guys to be mature in this moment, ready to be mature, right? Because I want to seriously talk to you guys because I deeply care about you guys. Sex is one of the biggest areas where boundaries get tested. God designed sex to be powerful and to be good, and when someone pressures you to cross that line, they're not only disrespecting you, but they're disrespecting God. So when I talk about they respect boundaries, I'm not just talking about your boundaries, I'm talking about God's boundaries and what honors God. And because at the end of the day, if they don't respect those boundaries, they're only seeking what they want and not what honors God or respects your future. So I want to show you guys an illustration. So this cup of water right here, nice clear cup of water, drinkable water, represents your life. It represents your purity and the way that God designed intimacy. To be fresh, to be clean, to be something good, right? God created sex to be beautiful and not to be polluted and manipulated and all that stuff like that. But when you cross boundaries because your girlfriend or your boyfriend is pressuring you and you feel like you need to cross that boundary so that you can stay with them, this is what it ends up looking like. And the water starts getting polluted. The water is still there. It's just not as fresh and clean as what it was intended to be or what it started off to be. And then you break up with that person, you date another person, right? They push the same boundaries. You give in because you've already done it once before, right? So then you're going back and you're just adding more stuff to the water. And then you're just starting to like have sex with multiple people. And it just keeps polluting the water. Up until the point that you finally find the person that you want to marry. And you fall in love and you're like, this is the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. You're going to come to them and you're offering them this. Would you drink this? No. Compared to what it was before, no. And here's the thing. This is what pressure does. It takes something pure and takes something beautiful and it twists it into something that is harmful and just messy, right? And you might be thinking to yourself, well, here's the thing, Lynn. I'm smarter than you. And I'm just going to do all of this stuff first to get it out of the way, and then I'm going to ask God for his forgiveness. Because that's how it works, right? He has grace. Well, here's the thing. Yes, God has grace, but grace does not cancel out consequences. You're going to still be walking around with baggage. And in the Bible, it says that when you have sex with somebody, it's made to be between a male and female in marriage. You become one flesh. So when you have sex with multiple people, each person, a little bit of them stays with you. And you are going to walk around with that. And you are going to have the burden of cutting the ties that you have for them for life. But on top of that, when you choose and you decide to do that and go against God's will and what he says in the Bible and choose to be disobedient in that way, you are willingly giving the devil ammo to use against you. Now, why would you want to do that? If you would just listen and be obedient to the one who knows everything, you could literally be untouchable and invincible in this area against the devil. So I want you guys to just sit and think about that. So moving on to red flag number 3, by the end of Samson's relationship with Delilah, he wasn't stronger, he was weaker. So think about that. The man who literally used to be so strong, who once tore lions apart with his bare hands, was now just beaten down and he's pushing a grinding wheel, chained up like an animal. And that's the cost of ignoring red flags. Red flag relationships don't just break your heart, they break you. Samson lost his vision physically, but the truth is he lost his vision for his life way before when he tried to get all twisted up with Delilah. That's what happens when you attach yourself to someone who doesn't value your calling. And that's why the last green flag I want to talk to you guys about that you need to look for is that they make you better, so they push you right. Proverbs 27:17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." That's the opposite of what happened to Samson. Green flag relationships will sharpen you and should sharpen you. They'll call you higher when you're tempted to settle and you feel like you're about to fall in temptation. They'll keep you accountable in that way. They'll remind you of God's purpose for you and the call on your life that he has for you. And ultimately, they make you stronger in your faith and not weaker. They should make you feel like you want to know God more because of who they are. Instead of draining you, they'll fuel you. Instead of blinding you, they help you see clearer by using the words of the Bible. And they'll push you, instead of having you be chained up, they'll push you to live out your purpose. Think of it like working out. Does anybody work out? I can't even raise my hand because I don't. So think of it like working out. If you lift with someone who is stronger than you, they end up pushing you, right? They can lift heavier than you, so then they end up spotting you and they don't let you quit. And in the end of the day, because you're lifting with someone who is stronger than you and someone who's pushing you to get to your goal, you end up becoming stronger as well. But the opposite is true too. If you're lifting with somebody who is weaker than you, who is careless, who laughs when you drop the weight and makes fun of you and all that stuff like that, you're gonna end up getting crushed. You're gonna end up getting hurt. The right one will spot you, and the wrong one will crush you. So I want you to ask yourself this as you're thinking about maybe the person that you're with or the person that you're talking to or thinking about being with, or even just in the future. After being with them, do I feel closer to God or do I feel further away? Do I feel like I'm stronger in my faith or do I feel like I'm getting weaker? Do I feel more confident in who God says I am, or am I starting to feel insecure? The right one won't chain you to your past. They'll push you into your purpose. Some of you may have been in Samson's shoes. You've let someone close to you who has drained you, blinded you, felt like, you were being chained up. Maybe it's the relationship that you're in right now that makes you feel like that. Maybe that's how some of you feel right now. Maybe not physically blind or chained, but you feel like you've let relationships pull you away from God. So like what we talked about, not staying pure, drinking and doing drugs with them. Ignoring curfew when you're supposed to be home at a certain time just to spend more time with them. Lying to your parents about them and the things that they maybe encourage you to do. Those are all ways that you're being pulled away from God. Maybe you've ignored red flags that you knew were there the whole entire time, but you just decided to just stick it out. Maybe you've crossed boundaries that you regret. And earlier we talked about this cup of water. And if this cup was you, and it's been polluted with compromises, with peer pressure, by ignoring red flags and not looking clean anymore, I don't want you guys to sit in shame. Because I was this cup too. But here's the good news. And I want to tell you guys what God did for me and what he can do for you guys too. When you decide to fully give your life to Jesus and commit your life to him and live your life for him and be obedient to him, he will literally make you into a brand new cup of water. He's not going to take this one and just strain it and have a little bit of bits and pieces there. He's literally going to make you brand new. And that's exactly what he did for me. Once I came back from college, I dropped out of nursing school. I didn't even finish. I came back. I came to serve and just to be here, honestly, to be in the presence of the Holy Spirit and just to live my life for him. And I chose to just be obedient to him, what he was calling me to do. That's the only reason why Luke and I are together right now and married. That's the only thing that made our relationship work, was for me to get it together and fully commit my life to Jesus. Not half-heartedly, but wholeheartedly. And there's hope that I want you to know for yourself that he can do the same thing for you. 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, if anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. The old has gone, the new is here. Maybe you've been hurt. Maybe you've been messed up. You've given your heart to the wrong things. Maybe you broke up with somebody for the right reasons, but you're still feeling heartbroken. I get it. You're human. You have feelings. We all do. But tonight, God is inviting you to just let him make you brand new, clean, whole, forgiven, and just filled with his Spirit. That's what the cross is all about. That's why Jesus took all of your sin with him and died on the cross for you. All of the brokenness, all of the messiness, the compromise, all of that. He died on the cross to give you a fresh start and to make you into a brand new cup of water. So I want you guys to stand up, bow your heads, close your eyes. Let's just take a moment with God. At the end of the story of Samson and Delilah, the part that I didn't read, there was one last line. It says, "But the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved." Like, think about that. Samson's hair was shaved after he literally ignored all these red flags and still continued with Delilah. And yet, God allowed his hair to grow back. And the fact that that happened, that was God telling Samson that despite his mistakes, that he wasn't done with him yet. And the same is true for you. No matter your past, no matter your mistakes, no matter how many times you've given into pressure and ignored all the red flags, God is not finished with you. You have breath in your lungs right now, and you are breathing. And that means that God still wants to use you because you have a purpose here on this earth. Tonight, some of you need to make a decision. Maybe it's to stop chasing the red flags, to stop letting pressure control your choices, to stop giving your heart to the people who don't value it, and instead, just give your heart to Jesus. Like I was talking before, he literally died on the cross for you. And not only that, not just that, he rose from the dead 3 days later and conquered death. But that was to let you know that you can conquer death as well. When you accept Jesus into your heart and you decide to live your life for him, that same resurrection power that raised Jesus from the dead lives inside of you too. And I want to give you guys that opportunity to say yes to him. So if you're feeling in your heart, God, I need guidance. God, I need somebody to help me, like figure out my relationships, what I'm just doing in my life right now. I'm ignoring all of the red flags. And I only want to focus on the greens, but I need you to tell me what that is. If you believe that Jesus has died for you and you want to commit your life to him, with a little bit of courage, with a little bit of faith, with everybody's eyes closed, heads are bowed, nobody looking around, I want you to just lift your hand towards heaven, raise your hand if you want to say yes to Jesus. I see a hand up here in the front, hands up here and to the sides, hands over here on the sides. Good job. I see a hand right here. See a hand in the back over here. That's awesome, guys. You guys can put your hands down. That's so awesome. Honestly, anytime anybody raises their hand to commit their life to Jesus, I'm just like in awe because like it is such a special moment, and no, like tomorrow is not guaranteed. Like when you leave here today, like you don't know what's going to happen. But when you give your life to Jesus, you do know what's going to happen. So let's just pray together. If you guys want to pray with me, you can repeat after me. Jesus Christ, thank you for dying on the cross for me. Thank you for loving me. And thank you for raising from the dead. God, I want to be whole. I want to be new. And I want to know you. God, I love you. And I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen. Can you guys clap with me?